as the midnight appointments. Okay? All right, that is the end of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little review today, and we're going to have a little quiz tomorrow. Okay? So, Mrs. Montoya, I'm going to go get the review, which we're going to do orally, and then I will be right back.
From today? I might need them.
I will. No, yeah, Shelby's trying to get
Okay, kiddos, we're going to do something a little different. Listen up. All right, now listen up. We're going to try something different. This is what the test is going to consist of, so pay attention. 5 multiple choice questions. Okay, now listen. Normally, when we get better at these, I may have multiple answers, where A and B might be the right answer, C and D. These will have one specific answer only. Okay? And here's some things you're going to need to know. So you might just jot this down. You're obviously going to need to know that the Federalists were led by Alexander Hamilton. You're also going to need then to know that Thomas Jefferson led the Republicans. And you're going to need to know those differences that we talked about between the two parties. Whereas the Federalist Party had no faith in the average man to govern themselves, the Republican Party had great faith. Okay? The Federalist Party wanted to give power to wealthy people and have the government under the control of the wealthy, whereas Thomas Jefferson wanted.
Who was the Republican?
You got to find. Yeah, you got to. Yes.
Thomas Jefferson.
Well, it's on video. Okay. Now it's in your notes too. Yeah, that's what I would do. I was kind of circling your notes. But we started right off the bat. We know that the Federalists were under the influence of Alexander Hamilton. We also know that the Republicans were under the influence of Thomas Jefferson. We also should know, if you look at your notes where I gave you the differences between the Federalist Party and the Republican Party, we need to know those differences. The Federalist Party had little faith in the ability of the average person to govern themselves. All the faith in the world. The Republican Party wanted to give power to the average person, which was 90% of Americans' population. The Federalist Party wanted to give power to wealthy people. The Federalist Party supported the National Bank of the United States. The Republican Party did not favor it. Some of the type of people that belonged to the Federalist Party were wealthy merchants, lawyers, manufacturers, and church leaders. And where was the majority of the Republican Party located geographically? Not on the East Coast, because all the Federalists were on the East Coast, right? Remember, the Republican Party favored limited federal government and strong state government. So just have an idea about the differences between those two parties. Okay, when we talk about the election of 1796, what you're going to need to know is who the candidates were. Who ran for the Republican Party? Who ran for the Democratic Party? Okay, that'd be very, very good to know. 1796, the main thing you need to know in 1796 is the candidates. Who ran for the Federalists for president, vice president? Who ran for the Republicans? That's what you need to know there. You also need to know, I'll see you boys after class, both of you, okay? You also need to know that when President Adams took office, what was the problem? Now, it wasn't the fact that he had Thomas Jefferson as a vice presidential, but what was the big problem? But he didn't have time to worry about that.
They were on the verge of war.
We were on the verge of war with France. We were threatened with war from France. And what were some reasons why we were at war with France? Why was France mad at us, Cassie?
They were resenting that we didn't abide with the Treaty of 1778.
They were resentful because we didn't abide by the Treaty of 1778. And Andrew, do you have another one?
John Jay's.
Yeah, they were upset about Jay's Treaty because they thought that was very pro-British. Okay? So these things I'm mentioning would be really good to know. Now, during that XYZ affair, when those French diplomats met with the American diplomats, including who? James Monroe. Did they demand that we pay a bribe of $250,000 to avoid war with them?
Yes.
Did they demand that we give them a loan?
Yeah.
Did they identify themselves as anybody other than X, Y, and Z?
No.
No. Those are some things you need to know, okay? During the election of 1800, did both Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr receive 73 electoral votes?
Yes.
Was Thomas Pinckney the Federalist candidate for president?
No.
John Adams was,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to know in the election of 1800, you need to know three important things. The candidates, what the 73 votes went to and what it meant, and which branch, the House or the Senate, makes the difference in what? Picking the president. Which group does? So, in 1800, know the candidates, know the number of votes that Burr and Jefferson received and what that meant, and then know a little bit about what organization picks the president when things go awry. I would know who James Monroe was. I would know what the 12th Amendment to the United States Constitution was. I would know who John Marshall was. You can just check these off on your ID sheet. They're all IDs, right? So I would know who James Monroe was. I would know what the 12th Amendment to the United States Constitution did. I would know who John Marshall was. I would know what the midnight appointments were. I would know who Napoleon was. I would know at least two things that the Republican Party believed in comparison to two things that the Federalist Party believed in. We kind of already talked about that. And I would know the percentage of the total population of Americans that were considered wealthy and which percentage were considered average. Okay, there'll be 15 answers to this. They're only going to be worth 2 points apiece. This will really be kind of a minor quiz worth 30 points. We will meet out in the Commons and take it tomorrow. Okay, let's go through this real quickly one more time. As far as the election of 1796, know the candidates. Know the candidates. As far as the Federalists and the Republicans, know who led each group and some things they believed in. Know by the time President Adams took office that we were about to go to war with France and the two reasons why. During the XYZ affair, know some things that the French diplomats either did or said to the American diplomats. And as far as the election of 1800, know the candidates, know who received votes, and know how they would go about selecting a president when we had a tie. Know who James Monroe was, 12th Amendment of the Constitution, John Marshall, midnight appointments, Napoleon, at least two things specifically that the Republican Party believed in, two things specifically that the Federalist Party believed in, and what percentage of the total population of Americans in 1800 were wealthy and what percent were average. Okay? If you Want to reiterate the review and find out what's on the test? That's why it's on video.